Welcome to the Purity Pulse podcast, your go-to podcast for the natural health industry and everything purity life. I'm Julie.
And I'm Erin.
And today we're going to get through our weekly check-in. We're going to have Brad King. He's a best-selling author, formulator, and he works with Leaf Source as well. And we'll also do our What's New to Purity Life.
So you're just coming back into town from a bit of a trip, hey?
Yes, I'm ultra excited, to say the least. We were at Kyolic. They have a international symposium.
Oh, the Garlic Symposium.
That's exactly
Yes.
it. So what they do is they have all their top researcher.
Yes.
That comes for 2 days. So you're sitting for 2 full days of listening to research.
Yeah.
And one that I was super excited because it's always good to remind everybody that Kyolic is good for your heart health and cholesterol. But the one that I was ultra excited to hear about is from Dr. Reed. She's from Australia.
Yes.
And she was talking about performance.
Excellent.
So very good study to share with everybody. And I would say the next month or so, where we're going to be able to link how Kyolic helps you to perform in different type of activities.
Yeah.
So I always like to say it brings Kyolic back to sexy again.
Yeah.
Especially if we think about all the trends and how, what's going on out there, that people are looking for performance and longevity.
Performance, longevity, exactly.
Exactly.
Hits those buzzwords.
Exactly. So Kyolic is really hitting those two big twos, because you have the longevity, which you think about your heart health and cholesterol.
Yep.
So you make sure that the base of your house is solid. And on the other side, you have your performance. So how can I do everything better? How can I, walk better, jog better, and all of that? So,
well, the great thing about Kyolic too is performance. I mean, that's nothing new when it comes to Kyolic, but Kyolic just does more and more research over and over, like so many different formats and testing and whatnot. That's kind of the thing that makes it stand apart, right? So there's always something interesting and new to talk about it, because there's always new research coming out.
Yeah, absolutely. And what's very interesting is we always talk about, trends, what's trendy. And there's, up and coming products, but Kyolic has been there in the industry forever. I mean, I've been 18 years in this industry, and it was way before me, before us. And but they find a way to do more research to really go into other kind of specialty, if we can call it that way, which brings back again a product that all the studies, so what you can recommend with feeling confident. Yeah. So so that was my kind of what happened in the past couple of weeks for
me. I
look
forward to hearing more about that.
Yes, that'd be cool. Thank you, Brad, for joining us. Brad, can you tell us a little bit of your background? I mean, everybody, I would say, in the industry know you, but we want to know, how it started. Like, where did you came from, and what you're doing currently?
Yeah, no, first of all, thanks very much for having me. Super excited to be a part of this. My journey actually started when I was in my 20s. I was doing personal training at the time. I had just started studying nutrition, but I wasn't really that impassioned to really do much with it. And then there was an illness in my family. My mother just very suddenly got sick. And when I came home to visit, I had noticed she lost, just a tremendous amount of weight in a really short period of time. I hadn't seen her for a few months. And anyway, I ended up bringing her to the doctor, and she was one of these people, like a lot of people, that just were very reluctant to go for, an average doctor's visit, which I don't blame a lot of people, unfortunately. But it turned out when I did bring her to the doctor, he made an emergency hospital requisition for her to go. And, obviously it scared me. Yeah. Brought her to the hospital. And that evening I found out she literally had 3 months to live. She had pancreatic cancer.
Oh my goodness.
So that was obviously a very big wake-up call for me, young guy, 2 siblings, which I care about. So my mother did pass away 3 months to the day that the doctor gave her, because she literally did give up. And 6 months to the day that my mother passed away, my father passed away from pancreatic cancer and heart disease.
Wow.
So, yeah, I'm a young guy, studying nutrition, interested in health, and helpless, like absolutely helpless. And, I realized at that point that I wanted to study, I wanted to become a researcher to learn what I could do, and then what I can do to basically help others, not come face to face with these diseases and illnesses that too many of us think are just they're just going to happen, right? Because 1/3 of the population are going to experience things like cancer and heart disease, but they feel helpless. They feel like it's almost there's nothing that they can do to ward these things off, and yet well over 80% is in our favor, right? Because our genes are nothing more than templates, and this thing we call our life experience, we build upon those templates and we build them based on our dietary factors, our lifestyle factors, and the environment in which we choose to live. And, when I see things like environment, I'm not talking about, you could be in Montreal and it's cold and I've been there, and,
That's nice.
not the greatest winters. That's not the kind of environment I'm talking about. I'm talking about what is your internal environment? Are you someone that allows for healthy thought patterns? Are you a positive individual, or are you like the masses where you, basically congregate around people that are negative and, have that negative mindset and do believe like the masses that there's nothing they can do and they're just going to sail at half mast the rest of their lives. And that's just the way it is. It's part of getting older. And that's what I try to explain to people, that everything is within our favor as long as you do the right things the majority of the time, because we're not saints. Everybody wants to, eat the wrong foods every once in a while, and everybody wants to take a day or more off of exercise, and you can't blame them.
Yeah.
And, we go on vacation for a reason. So as long as you do the right things the majority of the time, then everything is within your favor. But if you don't do those things, then don't expect life to do beautiful things for you.
Right.
It doesn't work that way.
So you went from having, like, I would say, definitely a double life-changing shock that brought you into the really wanting to research to help everybody in getting better in their health. And so you did research, and I know that you've worked with some brands as well, many brands, and you wrote 11 books.
I just wrote my 12th book, actually, on natural immunity. Because I wanted people to realize that, once again, we don't have to 100% rely on the medical or the pharmaceutical establishment to give us what the body naturally has.
Right.
I just want people to understand that we have within our favor the ability to do incredible things, once again, if we establish the right methods to make those things happen, right? Like we have beautiful air around us, but we forget how to breathe properly. Right. We have water, but we forget what clean water is and how important that is for the body. And then, there's these amazing things we call supplements, right? And we're all in this industry, the health industry. But we also have to realize that those supplements are there to supplement an already, well-devised lifestyle protocol, so to speak.
Yeah.
So they're not going to do anything for the majority of people if we don't do the other things for ourselves. And we need to wake up and stop being reactive, because we are reactive as a society, right? We wait until disease or illness sets in. And then what do? We panic, we go to the doctor, we find out we have, unfortunately, a late state disease. And then we feel like, oh, wow, there's nothing we can do. We better just, give in to whatever this problem is. And we need to become proactive. That's the thing. So, the majority of people that are going to health food stores and purchasing products, thankfully, they're in that better category of individuals that have kind of woken up a little.
Yeah, they're starting to think
realize that. Yeah, they have to do some things. Some people do just buy supplements because they want to buy supplements. I've been in a lot of health food stores where I see people coming in and saying, "What do you have for fat loss?"
Yeah, trends, right?
What's the thing that's going to work the best? And And some retailers will sell them whatever the latest product is, but unfortunately, they're not going to do anything for these people unless they get their diet down, their exercise, and all these other things that they need to do.
Build the house, exactly.
Build a house, a foundation.
Yeah.
Do you feel that, Brad, since like post-COVID, that people realize, more people, we see that in not product trends only, but I mean like a higher level of trends that people are looking for? We talk a lot about longevity.
Yes.
We talk a lot about, owning your own health and wanting, all the devices, the Apple Watch to check your sleep and all of that. Do you feel that it's getting like there's more people wanting to more proactively?
Yeah, yes and no. Here's my train of thought on that. Regardless of how we define those new trends, so we can look at trends going back 15 years ago. People didn't know about plant-based proteins. Veganism was relatively new in the sense of the health space, right? And then there were companies like Vega that came in and made it very popular. So whether it's veganism, whether it's carnivore, whether it's low carb diet, intermittent fasting, earth grounding, cold shock therapy. And by the way, for those people who are interested in losing body fat, when we talk about things like cold shock therapy, getting into a cold shower for, 1 to 3 minutes, cold plunge. The water, the thermal conductivity of water is about 25 times that of air. So you can go outside in the wintertime naked, and yes, you're going to burn more calories. You'll probably get arrested as well. But the point is, if you do a 3-minute cold plunge or just a cold shower, because a lot of people don't have access to a cold plunge, you're going to increase the body's thermal capacity to burn calories, not just while you're in that cold water, but for many hours, at least 3 hours after you get out of that water. And the research shows you can actually be so successful at upregulating your metabolism that you can burn about 25% more calories through the entire day just from exposing your body to 3 minutes. It's crazy. So, we have red light therapy, hydrogen therapy, and I think the reality is that any of these trends or all of these trends, they're really about getting back to our evolutionary biology and our biochemistry by mimicking nature. And the further we move away from nature and the faster we move away from nature or the rhythms of nature, that is called premature age.
Yeah, it's fascinating because what you're saying, I agree. We're so much into finding, the right tool or anything like that. But if we just go back to the basic, going back to nature, drinking water and just breathing.
Sometimes we forget the basics.
And there's lots of courses now, right?
And and you look at, you go back, when you talk about evolutionary biochemistry, 100 years is not a long time. There's no changes in our genome or our DNA in 100 years. It takes thousands and thousands of years to make those changes. But if you go back 100 years and you look at the minerals that were in the soil, in the water, in the food that we ate, and by the way, there's no better way to get minerals than once the plants do the job for us. So if you're eating organic produce in the right type, or you're supplementing with minerals that come from plants, those plants have taken inorganic minerals, because all minerals are the same. They're all metals. And those metals have to actually be incorporated into living tissue. So what happens is the plants take the minerals in metal form, inorganic form, incorporate them into their cellular structure, and then when they break down or decompose or we eat them, we're getting minerals in the safest form. But when you look at it from a biological perspective, those minerals are in an organic food form that the body can recognize. Yeah, and if you do not give the body what it recognizes, if you give it in a form that the body has to go, what? This kind of looks like something I understand, but not completely, then it has to do a lot of work in order to make those substances, become reactive or proper within the body.
Yeah, absolutely.
So I understand you've recently partnered with Leaf Source. Can you tell us a little bit about that partnership, how you got there, what your role is?
Yeah, I'm super excited about this. I had my own company for 18 years, and we were in all the health food stores. It was under my name, the Brad King's Ultimate line. We did
Yeah.
really well. We kind of were the champions for men's health, even though I didn't start out as a so-called men's expert,
Yeah.
but I wrote 2 books on men's health. So I had done what a lot of these other companies had done. I looked at ingredients that a lot of the supplement companies, they buy off of the same companies,
Yeah.
put together the best products I could based on the available science. And then I sold that company 5 years ago, and I was a consultant to Leaf Source. What I wanted to do was I wanted to do things different than I had ever done before. I wanted to do things from a natural perspective. I didn't want to use synthetic ingredients. I had used those in the past. Everybody's using them. I wanted to do things as close to the laws of nature as possible because I kind of felt guilty with some of the things that I had done in the past. And that's how I became involved with Leaf Source. And then I eventually bought the company. It's like that shaving commercial, right? Loved what I saw. And the amazing thing about Leaf Source is it started out as the first humic fulvic acid company in Canada. 20 years ago, they actually sold humic fulvic acid products to the industry. Nobody knew what these were.
Right.
And humic and fulvic acid is as close to nature as you can get because the product actually comes from a 100 million year old rainforest reserve. And it's the breakdown components of all of that plant matter that's now available to us in a capsule form or in a powder form.
Oh, wow.
So, once again, getting back to nature, the minerals, the amino acids, the vitamins, in their natural forms with what we call micronutrient cofactors, because when we eat food, we're not introducing vitamins in the form that we're taking from a health food store. Those vitamins in food, even though they're in much smaller quantity, are synergized with these beautiful things called micronutrient cofactors that allow our bodies intrinsically to understand what they are and then utilize them effectively. And this is why studies show time and time again, you can have what we call supraphysiological dosages, because a lot of vitamins have very, very high dosages, way more than the recommended daily allowance. That's the way you fool a synthetic compound to get into the body. But nature has much, much smaller amounts of these nutrients, yet they work more effectively in the body because they're natural.
Yeah, recognizable. So what would you say with that humic fulvic acid complex is the key benefit of it? Because it's not a new word, but it's really getting out there more now. So how would you describe what is superpower?
First of all, you going back to a time in the Earth's history where there was more oxygen, there were more nutrients in the plants, the vegetation grew to heights and densities, we can only imagine in this day. And what happened was over millions of years, this plant matter eventually decomposed and fermented in the ground. And to make the right kind of humic and fulvic acids, because you can make humic and fulvic acids by composting, but you don't put those in your body. Obviously, they're not good to put in your body. They need sufficient stages of regeneration, and that literally takes millions of years. So the humic and the fulvic acids in the leaf source, what happens is they were made over millions and millions of years, and it turns out that they contain 77 organically bound trace minerals. So if you were just taking a product like Leaf Source for the minerals, it would be reason enough. But you're also getting 17 amino acids, you're getting 9 vitamins, you're getting antioxidant enzymes, which are hundreds of times more powerful than vitamin C or vitamin E or any other antioxidant you could think of. You're getting polyphenolic or phenolic compounds, which are part of the immune system cascade. And the list just goes on and on. So you're going back to nature, but you're getting a snapshot of something that was once available in nutrient amounts that we can only imagine, but now it's available to us in a capsule or powder form. So it's pretty exciting.
Would that be one of the products? Well, obviously one of the products that somebody that starts and wants an overall good base energy that you would recommend as the starting? Because as we said, there's a million trends, there's a million new things. So when somebody goes in a store, like what should we tell, like would you tell the retailer, like, hey, this is a good recommendation as an overall base for any consumer?
You just said it. It's a base. It's getting back to the basics. You don't get any more of a starting point than humic and fulvic acids. It contains all of the genetic information from the plants that they once came from. So you're giving your body what it's probably missing. There's research from the University of California, Dr. Bruce Ames and his colleagues. They've shown that the human body is usually deficient in one or more of the micronutrients that we need. And they're only looking at about 30 or 40 nutrients. They're looking at 3 or 2 essential fatty acids. They're looking at maybe 8 or 9 amino acids. They're looking at 15 vitamins, 15 minerals. And if we're deficient in any one of those, the body has to ration in terms of priority. So our priority is not allowing you to live to be 80 or 90 or 100 years old. It's keeping you alive today so you can pass on your genes from a biological perspective. That's not good. That's survival. That's not thrival. That's survival.
Yeah.
And that's what people are doing. They're just surviving, but they're not. People don't even remember what amazing feels like because many of them have never felt it, or they haven't felt it since they were kids and they were able to jump and play and do all the things they did and feel amazing and laugh all day long. And then we get serious and we forget how to produce energy. So 100% humic and fulvic acids and shilajit, by the way, which contains these humic and fulvic acids, have the ability to regenerate the very engines of the body that create the energy that we can't do anything without producing. And that's called ATP, or adenosine triphosphate. And those little engines are called mitochondria. And by the way, 10% of our body weight are these tiny little engines that, once again, you can't tie your shoelaces. We can't have this conversation without producing. And humic and fulvic acids regenerate those mitochondria. And that's just one of the things that they do.
Wow. That's amazing.
That is very, exciting. And you, I know that you talk about, longevity, and also, again, with your book, where dirty diets and all of that, because when we look in store and the trends and as you mentioned earlier, like carnivore, then gluten-free, and then vegan, and what's your thought behind all that? Because that's often what retailer, they're looking at, okay, what's the new diet?
Yeah.
What's the new trend? What should I get? I know that it's great to have variety in store, and that's why there's many supplements and everything. But again, going back to what would you suggest to the store or recommend that they should definitely have for, giving at least the base for retailers or consumers, I mean?
Yeah. So one of the things that I like to, give to retailers is forget the noise. There's always going to be the next big thing that's come in. I mean, all of a sudden we've brought in NMN and all these various products, and now we're finding there's no research to back them up. It looks good, but it doesn't really
lots of podcasts behind, but
So the thing we have to realize is that when you get to the basics, you're providing the body with things that it needs in order to allow the body to function at a higher capacity. So many of the people that have no energy, many of the people that are sick, have illness, disease, all those things are happening because the body is deficient in one or more of the substances that it needs. The screws, the locks, the bolts, whatever we need, if we give the body that in the most basic form that the body can recognize and use, it's going to be able to rebuild. So number one, get back to the basics. That's where humic and fulvic acids are. That's where the minerals that rebuild the enzymes that allow us to do everything we take for granted. You're not going to find any mineral formula better than humic fulvic acids or shilajit. It's as simple as that. So that's number one. Number two, multivitamins. We have 1 billion of them on our shelves. What the heck are people to do, right? They have the Centrum philosophy because they go into health food stores, they go into pharmacies, they see Centrum, they watch ads for Centrum, Flint. I was brought up on Flintstone vitamins.
Flintstone, they know the truth.
God. If my parents only knew, that it was hurting me. It was hurting me, like the forms of these nutrients. Everything is 100% synthetic. So look for whole food derived multivitamins. Once again, people are so in tune with, but the dosages are lower. Who cares? The body can use them. And that's what you have to understand. When you eat an apple, are you getting vitamin C? Yes. Are you getting 1,000 milligrams of ascorbic acid? No. You may be getting 5, maybe 10 milligrams, but the research shows that 5 or 10 milligrams in an apple is going to give you greater activity from antioxidants than 1,000 milligrams of the synthetic form of vitamin C, like ascorbic acid. So, get back to the basics. That's where I would start. And look for things like even protein. Protein is a basic, but look for high grades of protein because we're deficient in amino acids. And one of the reasons we prematurely age, and nobody's talking about this, is a condition called sarcopenia, which starts in our 30s. That's the loss of lean body mass. And if we lose lean body mass, we lose strength and we lose bone and we become frail. And we are gauged by the amount of lean body mass we have and the strength that lean body mass gives us.
Yeah, it's definitely the going back to basic. Right?
That's
a key message here. Absolutely.
Well, that's amazing. I think that's information that retailers can use actively on the store floor.
Hope so.
Yes.
Should we jump into some rapid fire questions?
Yes, we'll have some quick, nice, fun questions for you, Brad.
Fun. Rapid fire is never fun.
We'll put you on the spot.
Okay.
I'll start you with one that I think will be easy for you. What's an example of a non-negotiable in your morning routine?
100% exercise. I get for instance, this morning, because it's 9 o'clock here, I got up at 5 o'clock to go to the gym to exercise before this podcast. Normally I go to the gym around 7 or 8, but it's a non-negotiable. Number 2, deep breathing. Everything is gauged by the amount of oxygen we can transport to the trillions of cells around the body. So if you don't deep breathe from your diaphragm, and I do at least 30 deep breaths first thing in the morning, holding after every 10 breaths, because the carbon dioxide is actually very good for vasodilation later on. And finally, low glucose or low carb living. We are gauged by how long sugar stays elevated in the bloodstream. And there is a reaction that takes place, which is called glycation. And glycation is protein that sticks to sugar. We are protein, our skin, our hair, our nails, everything in the body is protein. You can prematurely age by 33% faster if you don't do things to control your blood sugar level. So low carb is one of the best ways to do that.
Wow, I'm going to start breathing more because I think every time you mention it, I'm like, that's right.
I heard you immediately take your deep breath in.
I just breathe from here. Just when I work out, I breathe very deeply.
And we hear about acid alkaline all the time. We still believe we can drink a green drink and be alkaline. It doesn't work that way. Alkalinity is controlled through our cardiorespiratory rate, how well we're able to breathe and how much of that oxygen we can transport to our tissues. That's why exercise is most important. It alkalinizes you.
So I'm doing the right thing there. What was your first natural product that you personally used?
My first natural product, and here I'm going to go ahead and date myself here.
That's okay. We did that earlier.
Was protein. Because I started off really young, I was into bodybuilding. I remember when I was young, really young, I used to go to, they didn't even have protein at health food stores. Okay. That's how ancient I feel. And I used to go to like a butcher shop where they sold protein under the counter, and it was like the worst, chalkiest. It probably had zero bioavailability, and I spent my last dollar on this protein because at that time I had just started studying nutrition, and I understood how important protein was. And to this day, protein is still one of the most important things to me. And that's why I look for superior amino acid profiles in food. And that's why I'm also a big believer in supplementing with creatine, not just for maintaining muscle, for brain function and for overall energy production, because that's what creatine does in the body.
Yeah. Two big ones that we talk about a lot.
Yes, that we consume a lot of it.
Yeah.
What would you say is your current favorite health trend?
I don't think this is quite a health trend yet, but I would like to be instrumental in helping it become one. And that would be muscle-centric living, coupled with, the right type of diet. And I'm not going to tell anybody how to eat. If you believe in plant-based, then do plant-based. Just learn how to supplement properly for plant-based. Yep. If you're carnivore, that's great, but learn how to balance carnivore. And I'm a big believer in making sure the body has enough protein, because this whole thing about 0.8 grams per kilogram of body weight, we are deficient in protein. That's wrong by probably close to 30 to 50% for most of the population.
That's huge.
So yeah, it is huge. And this is why so many of us are losing so much lean body mass. Yeah. What do? We look at ourselves as, we're getting fat. I don't like the way fat looks on my body. Yeah, right. So we caloric deprive ourselves instead of maintaining muscle. Right. Because for every pound of fat people are lucky enough to lose on whatever diet they're on, they take with them 1 pound of metabolically active tissue. I coined this phrase in my very first book called Fat Wars. It's called the smaller fat person syndrome.
Right. That's cool. Well, I'm going to keep eating my bunch of protein because I'm very happy that you're supporting.
Yeah, that's a trend we can get behind.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. But make sure you have the humic fulvic acid or the shilajit in order to support the protein turnover.
Okay. Note taken. Last question for you here. What has been one of the most adventurous thing that you've ever done?
Wow, I did one adventurous thing, which I'm not going to get into, about 5 years ago, and I had a horrific accident that I'm still suffering from today. But I'll tell you about my second most adventurous thing. I climbed what's called the Dunn's River Falls in Jamaica. I don't know if any of you have ever done that before.
No.
It's about 180 feet up. It's 600 feet, to get to it. And to me, it was so treacherous because it was so slippery, the rocks. You literally have your bare hands. And I honestly thought I was going to fall a few times. And I've always remembered that. And I did it about 10 years ago. So that is definitely stuck in my mind.
Yeah, I can feel the adrenaline all the time that is in you because you always, you have the activity, but you're thinking of slipping all the time. That would be...
100%.
How long was that hike?
It takes a long time because you're walking in rapids. Yeah. And then you get to the falls and you have to climb up this rock basin. And they don't tell you how treacherous it really is. But there were times I just literally stayed still because I didn't know how I was going to get to the next rock. Yeah, it was so scary to me, and I don't like heights to begin with.
Oh no. Was it all free climbing, or were you lined in?
It was free climbing. Yeah.
Oh my goodness.
100% free climbing.
That is scary. Good for you.
Yeah.
Oh, good for you.
Good for you for pushing through that.
You have to take yourself out of comfort because comfort kills.
Absolutely.
Right? Yes. We sit in nice chairs, and if they're not nice enough, we buy nicer chairs, and we turn our temperature up in our house if we're too cold. Listen, challenge your body because that's how the body adapts and gets stronger. That's what exercise is.
Absolutely. Well, I think that it's a great closing message here.
Agreed.
Definitely get out of your comfort zone and go back to basics. So thank you.
100%.
Yeah, thank you very much for your time. It was a great information piece for all of us, I would say.
Yeah, absolutely. Thanks so much, Brad.
I really appreciate you having me. Thank you.
Okay, now let's get into some new to Purity Life.
Yes, and we have a category that is expanding.
Yes, it's definitely growing.
And going from conventional to more natural options.
Yes, and this is the sexual health category.
Absolutely. And for those who are listening, we're talking about gems.
Yes, Gems for All.
Gems for All.
So it's a female-founded brand, and they're very inclusive with all their terminology.
Absolutely.
Really clean stuff. So this is just 100% silicone.
Yeah.
And then they also have
One ingredient.
multiple sizes of the condoms, just latex and silicone.
Yeah.
Natural latex, I should say.
Yeah, absolutely. And for those who are listening, the silicone gel, we'll call it, lubricant, is very thicker in the texture compared to other brands.
Right.
So really, you don't need much, and it goes a long way.
Let's see.
Yeah. Yeah, you'll see the texture, and it's not sticky either. So when you apply it, it looks pretty liquid as a texture. So you think that, oh my God, it's going to run everywhere. But as soon as you start to sort of just apply it, it really stick there without being sticky.
Right.
So definitely very good formulation. I mean, it's one ingredient, not complicated.
Yeah.
But there's different level of thickness. And I think that this one, they really hit, a very good product there. And
they did a good job with their colors and with their marketing as well, right?
Very cool.
Stand out.
Yeah, again, for those who are listening, we're looking at sort of a bright green packaging, and for the condoms boxes, and for the tubes, it's kind of a light, I would say, teal with some type of orangey peach label. So absolutely stand out on shelf. And what's important to say about that category is, don't think that you need just one. Think about conventional. It's a wall.
Yeah.
It's a wall of offer.
It's really nice that we're finally getting to a point in natural where we actually have options.
Yes.
Right? We've got a few to choose from.
Yes.
So I think that's bang on, right? You need to actually create a category in your store. We're not gone in the days where we've got one product to choose from and it just sits there.
Absolutely.
So make your store go-to for these products as well.
Yeah. And I can't remember now the name of the brand, but years ago, there was a brand that launched like condoms and it just kind of disappeared. And I would say the category never really came back out so much.
Yeah.
But in the past year, I would say that we've onboarded a couple of brands.
Yeah, clean options
that are high quality, do what they're supposed to be doing. And this one, as you mentioned, female owned. So yeah, overall great products. So make sure to get that on your shelf. Thank you for joining us this week, and make sure to RSVP for our 40th anniversary tabletop celebration in our Calgary distribution center, which will be held on June 5th. And if you look in the show notes, we'll have a link where you can register easily.
Yeah. Thanks so much for joining us. Don't forget to like and subscribe. Follow us on Insta at Purity Life Health Products LP. Send us your feedback to marketing@Purity Life. And you can follow Julie at
JD_Girl Power.
And I'm at Erin G. Macklin. And come back and join us next week when you'll see our live recorded episode from the Laval tabletop for our 40th anniversary.
Looking forward to see you all.